Welcome back to Between Sundays, the podcast where Christians are trying to figure life out where most of life happens. I'm Bobby.
I'm Justice.
And today, and
I'm Brent.
There we
Brent
go.
Carr. There we go.
Yeah.
And so today, guys, we are excited to have our first guest on the podcast going into season 2. Always something that's been asked about a little bit, who we would have on the show.
Yeah.
And but thankful to have Brent Carr with us today. He's actually with our church as well, member of our church. And, of course, we're going to get into a lot of that today as he's here to share his testimony. But, again, thankful to have him with us today, man. It's cool, man. First guest today. And you don't know what to do being over there.
I have no idea.
Am I in his seat?
I had to. Well, no.
Normally you're here.
You're not in my seat.
We don't
Okay.
want to sound like Baptist, you know.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we've seen that
My
before.
grandmother did donate that seat. That's all I'm going to say about that. But, you know,
So-
it is what it is. It's
Yeah.
all right. It's a little new
Do
mic.
you have like a little plaque on the side?
It's
that
on the
says,
side. It's on the side.
In memory of. Yeah.
We do. We removed his mother's quilt that she made for that side, too.
Man, you
Just
should have
treated
brought
that.
the quilt. That'd be cool.
My grandma listens to this, and I'll throw this in here, and I know she's going to probably get upset with this, but do y'all know the footstools that the little old ladies have?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She has one of those, and that was like her stamp of her seat. Like, nobody sits in this one because you have...
And you
I have
don't
my-
move it.
You don't move it.
I used to clean auditorium, and there were certain things you didn't touch.
Oh, you don't touch it.
You vacuum around it, but you do not move it.
If somebody could wish your salvation away, they would wish it away right then.
Oh, I felt it. I
Like-
felt the coldness. The coldness.
Moving stuff like that.
Sweet little ladies of the church.
Oh, yeah. My mom cleaned church, too. It was one of those things you knew whose it was.
Certain things you don't touch. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
It's awesome.
I feel like you do find a lot of mints, though. A lot of mints and loose candy and probably some things you don't want to find in church pews as well.
Question is, have you ate the mints that you found?
I'm not going to answer. I played the fifth on that one.
Depends on how hungry you are for the
Some
day.
of those you don't want to.
No,
because
no.
They were used
Yes.
and put in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to check the wrapping to see if it's been retied.
Do you remember
or not.
the hymn book racks on the
Oh,
back
yeah.
of it? Like a lot of pews don't have that, and chairs definitely don't have it. But we would have to go in there and clean them out. And every time I'd go through there and clean it out, I'd get a handful of like candy that some kid had just been eating all
Halfway,
day,
yeah.
and then put it back in there.
Oh, yeah. Just glorified trash
It's
cans.
wonderful.
That's
wonderful.
all it is.
I think every church member should have to just clean the auditorium just 1 week in their membership.
should be
Just
good.
kind of say, this is what it looks like after a
It would be a
Sunday service.
greater appreciation.
It would put a perspective on the people that come after you and clean up. Yeah.
My mom was hilarious. If the church ever was dirtier than usual, you could tell it on that Sunday. Like she was eyeballing people.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
she'd be trying to praise the Lord, but she was eyeballing.
Don't lift
just-
your hand today. Don't say amen to
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I know what you put in there.
Because you know who's sitting in that pew.
Yeah, that's right.
We're creatures of habit. We don't like to move around, and so you knew who was sitting in
Oh,
what
absolutely.
pew. So you knew who was. It's bad to say, no offense to anybody, but the trashiest people, you
Yeah.
knew who they were.
Oh, absolutely.
So this is how you live.
That's right. You're like, I wonder how bad your car looks right now.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny. That's funny.
Well, now that we made all the nice Baptist people mad. No, I'm just
Yeah,
joking. So, no.
everyone has tuned us out.
Everybody, no. But no, we are.
No, they're Baptists. They're going to still listen.
They are.
They're
yeah.
going to listen to think we're going to talk about more stuff.
That's right.
They're going to be like,
That's
who's next on this?
So, well, Brother Brent, we appreciate you being with us today, man.
Listen, I'm honored, and I mean this, to be on the number one
The
podcast
number one
Oh, my
podcast.
goodness.
of all podcasts.
That's right.
Not just Christian all podcasts. Number one. I saw it.
Top of the chart.
Top of the charts.
Did you see who we beat out, too?
I saw them all.
Unashamedly, we beat
Yeah.
out some of the tops.
I sent those other people messages.
Joel Osteen was one of them.
There. Yeah. Yeah.
We worked
That's
hard.
awesome.
We worked hard for that.
I
mean,
believe
it's
it. I believe it.
The moral of the story is
Honored to be a part of this.
do not believe anything on April 1st. Even don't believe anything on Facebook usually in general, especially on April 1st. Do not believe anything. I
So, I
got text
believe that
messages,
one.
congratulations. Like go read the comments. Like I promise you,
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's
I took it as fact.
was not true, but it should have been.
That's right.
And that's what we're sticking with.
Absolutely.
Not true, but
Absolutely.
should be.
We had some family members mad after that.
But I do
Did
want
you?
to.
Yeah,
Do we need to talk about that today?
they grabbed it. They were texting like, "Oh, congratulations!" Like, just go read the comment.
Yeah,
Like sending it to family members. Look at them.
Yeah, my dad said he's done listening.
We knew they made it. We knew they made it. That's great.
I do have to say, I am so thankful for all the listeners out there because
Yes.
the amount of faith that they have in us that think we can get to number one is
mean,
After
beyond.
a season and a half.
There was comments that they never even batted an eye. They were like, "This is the truth. This is the gospel
Yes.
right here.
Yes.
This was
It was a
100%
little
without a
heartfelt.
doubt."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I believe it.
It took away the heart for me to tell them it was an April Fool's joke.
Yeah, I know.
I couldn't do it after that.
You should have just left it.
I did.
Just
They're just now finding out.
because whether or not it is to everyone else or the charts, it is to those
number
people
one in their hearts.
number one in their hearts.
Number one in
And
our
we
hearts.
just know it's gonna be that one day.
It
I mean,
will
it
be.
really is gonna be there. So
Yep.
We'll just have to put it up on the Facebook memory and
and
say,
say we actually do mean it this time when we post
what's it called? We manifested it.
That's right.
We just thought it into existence.
That's right.
And
I tell you what you should do. Like you should get the logo, the Between Sundays logo,
Yeah,
and just have above it number one podcast ever.
I think we could do that.
You should do
what
that.
is that That's not an episode. What is that movie? The Elf. Whenever he's like, "World's greatest cup of coffee."
World's
Oh, yeah.
greatest cup of coffee.
We're gonna start
World's
putting that on
greatest
everything.
podcast.
Number one. podcast on
Congratulations,
everything.
world's
it.
best cup of coffee.
Even on the shirt. I'm gonna have it on my shirt. Right
World's
here.
best.
Do
World's
it.
best podcast.
Do it.
So, the self-proclaimed, though. But yeah, Brother Brent, we appreciate you being here with us today.
Good to be
man.
here. Yes,
And,
sir.
I know you are a busy man. Of course, Brother Brent is an evangelist, but also an evangelist out of our church here as well. And how many weeks generally a year are you pretty much on the road?
It averages around 47, 48, just depending on the year. Yep.
That is a lot. That's
52
is,
weeks
yep.
in a year.
Yep. We
Needless to say,
usually
you-
take, there's not a lot of meetings happening in December.
yeah.
So we usually take, we'll do Sundays in December at different places, but there's not any meetings. So December's usually slow for us, but the rest of the year we're wide open.
What is your not necessarily just this year? What's your longest stretch that you remember, like being away from home consecutively?
I try not to do it now for various reasons because of the family, allowing them to be home. I've learned more to take care of my family more than I used to. I think the longest stretch we did about 6 weeks straight.
And that wasn't back at the house at all.
That wasn't back
was
at the
6
house
weeks.
at
Wow.
all. And then we've done like 9 weeks straight where we were just coming in on Friday, repacking, and then leaving again. Now with college on Thursday night, I'm teaching, so I'm trying to restrict it to where I'm just going Sunday through Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I'm back on Thursday to teach. We're repacking everything on Friday and leaving again on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I try to get at least 1 to 2 days a week home.
Yeah, you don't
Now.
mind that one bit though.
No,
That-
no,
that,
no.
The bed for one, just coming back to the bed.
Yes. We've stayed in all kinds of different beds, some scary places and all that. But there is no bed like your bed.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I love it. I
No,
love being
I-
able to be home.
I have said since, of course, knowing you and been in Bible college, I commend those that step into evangelism because I'm an outspoken person. I go out and do things, but I'm very much a homebody, and so
Yeah.
man, traveling, that's something you got to know you want to do. That God's called you to be a part of that, and I always commend our evangelists. I know you, Brother Jared, SAS traveling, and all those guys that we know. It's a lot that goes into that. And
There is, yeah.
So-
Yeah, I tell people all the time when they ask about evangelism, because used to when you were in Bible college, young preacher, that's what you dreamed of, getting
Yeah.
to travel all the time, getting to
Yeah.
see different places. But I tell everybody that after the first few weeks, all that glitter and the glamour of it goes away. Yeah, when you're up late at night because there's people running the halls and
oh yeah,
just all kinds of different various places you go. Some good places, some not so good places. it reminds you that, this is a calling.
Yes.
And it's not just fun.
Yeah, they didn't show you in Bible college all the hotels you'd be staying in.
They did not teach us that. No, not at all. No. Not just Bible college, but prophets' chambers.
Oh, yeah.
Which, used to, it might have sounded good, but it doesn't sound good anymore.
Yeah.
Prophet's chamber.
It
sounds
scary.
It does, yeah. Yeah. And
it sounds like
it
one.
has
and
one of
those
old
churches
locks.
at night, dark as they can be, yeah. We've had places where we've stayed where, you'd stay in a prophet's chamber that's in the church, but the bathroom or the showers is across the church. And so you got to go to a different place. And man, that long stretch hallway where it's dark, you get real connected with your prayer life during those times.
I bet so.
Yeah.
You got to love those red exit signs.
Oh yeah,
That just
yeah.
light up the hallway.
Yes,
And just every shadow moves.
everything moves.
Yes. I remember in Victory one time, because I came from a small church and we had the typical stained glass windows, so it's always light in. But I know Victory was a different design because there's no windows.
No
in
windows,
Sanctuary.
dark as it could be.
Yes, and I went through there one time with just the exit lights,
Oh yeah.
and that was sure enough praying walking through that place.
Yeah.
You just every noise, everything. If somebody was hiding in there, they could have had a real fun moment at that time.
Oh
just to
yeah.
scare me.
Yeah.
You've probably had that. You probably had somebody do that to you, or y'all probably scared people in there before too.
My children have done it to me before. Yeah.
Don't you love that? It's
Yeah.
just wonderful. So,
Yeah.
well, one thing that we're looking forward to today, and I'm gonna let Justice kind of introduce a little more, just kind of your life and things like that. But one thing we were talking about, our heart with this, is just them to hear kind of just your life and just kind of where you've been up to this point, how God brought you to this place. And I know we were talking Sunday kind of when we were leading up to this episode of it's so easy for everybody to see preachers, evangelists, people on staff at a church, things like that in positions.
Yeah.
They see them on stage. They see them preaching Wednesdays. They see them in that environment and just kind of assume that that's kind of what always life has been. That, they don't have a past, or they don't have this, or they've never messed up this way, or they've never gone that way. And not that we're trying to air out all the dirty laundry today, obviously, but just for them to hear we've all made mistakes in life, and, and we've missed things. We've gone down roads we shouldn't have gone down, but it's amazing how God brings us to those places. And so that's kind of our heart today with everybody. I know a lot of times unless you preach it in a sermon, they may not always hear your testimony or bits and pieces of it. So we just wanted to carve out some time today and kind of let them hear your heart, what God's brought you through, and how you're sitting in this place today and what God's doing in your life. So Justice, man, you take it over and kind of let them know a little bit about Brother Brent here, and man, we're going to dive into it.
He has a long plethora of accomplishments on Wikipedia, so I just went through and copied and pasted, and
Yeah.
I will say, scary at the fact that you can just punch in somebody's name and just all that info.
Yeah, I've never done that, so I'm curious to know. I do notice that we're talking about my whole life is just one page. That's all we have.
Again, it was we did bigger font just to fill the page.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it was going to print
That
more,
is
but
my
it just
life
did.
right there. So
Just did.
that tells a lot.
It just did one. It's got little dashes in here, so every once in a while you can kind of just fill in read between the lines of where it's at. But we've got Brenton Carr here with us today. Born June 6th in Cowpen, South Carolina. Grew up Independent Baptist, based and lived. Have you lived anywhere other than South Carolina? Have you always lived in South Carolina?
I lived in Georgia for a short stint.
Okay.
Yep. But most of the time I've lived in South Carolina.
Lived in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
It's got you down here as saved as a child. We're called to preach at 17.
Mm-hmm.
You've attended Victory Baptist College in North Augusta, South Carolina. We kind of talked about that. We'll get into it. But you've got a bachelor's in pastoral theology, a master's in biblical studies, an honorary doctor of divinity. You are the president of Carolina Bible College, one of the greatest Bible colleges
That's right.
ever.
In my opinion, the greatest.
Shout out Carolina Bible College.
Yes.
The whole reason I moved here for Carolina Bible College. Arguably, the podcast wouldn't be here today without Carolina Bible College.
Right.
So president of Carolina Bible College, served at Victory Baptist Church in North Augusta for 10 years. Your roles were as the assistant pastor. You did the music minister at college and college leadership, so you were over all of that. Entered full-time evangelism in 2012. Excuse me. You've got...
he was also our singles director then too.
Singles director during that time.
That's another episode of some Pigeon Forge trips.
That's a whole different podcast altogether. Yeah.
So there's a lot we could go into there.
If you just getting into singles ministry, you will have enough sermon illustrations for a lifetime.
I was telling Justice the other day, we were talking about one of the famous video scavenger hunts we did through town. And
those were fun.
Oh, yeah. And I was telling him how Heather...
And somewhat illegal.
A little bit.
Yep.
Heather leapfrogged over Joe Wisniewski and kicked a chapstick display, and it exploded.
Everywhere.
Just everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
So those were fun nights.
Oh, man. Yeah, there was some interesting times.
Yeah.
We didn't know what we were doing. We just did it
Yeah.
and prayed that we didn't get arrested for
That's
it. Right. But honestly, it was a great group, and it was one that God put together.
Yes.
Because I didn't know what I was doing back then. My pastor just walked up to me and said, "We've got a group of young college-age students that's not really active. We want to get them active. We want them doing things, and you're going to start the ministry."
Yeah. We're just following your lead.
And I'm like, "But I've never done this before." And he was like, "Well, do it." And so we, when Larry Brown looks at you and says, "Do it," you do it.
That's right.
And so the Lord gave us a lot of grace during those years. But yeah, I mean, it really shaped a lot of what I do today.
Yeah.
Because of what I experienced back then in that singles ministry. So yeah, that was a big one.
Well, I'll say this: I met Heather in that singles ministry.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm thankful for it.
It's remarkable to see who God brought through that ministry and connected them together. We've got people here we've got people in our ministry here that was connected through that ministry.
Yeah.
We've got people like yourself who you met your spouse through that ministry. So it's amazing to see how God did all that, and it was all Him. But I was thankful to be a part of it.
Oh, we were too.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah.
Carr Family Ministries since 2012 travels nationwide with family. You do revivals, youth meetings, camp meetings, leadership conferences. You minister with your wife, Katie, 2 children, Cambry and Caroline. You can give them a shout out. Focused on family in the ministry. Recently, this is very recently, was a guest chaplain at the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C.
That is correct.
So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that was cool to watch.
That was awesome.
And watched that on Fox, or not Fox,
C-SPAN.
C-SPAN.
Yeah.
Everybody had it pulled up. We were all walking around the church with our phones out, just doing our normal stuff.
Was you watching it?
Watching it.
I think we had it
cool,
pulled
man.
up in here because we were doing an episode that day. I think we had to pull it up in here.
We pulled it up later on because we had to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
See who was all in there. But that was definitely cool. And one that I wouldn't tell you what it was earlier.
Yeah.
The appearance as a soldier on the Patriot film. So you had to have known that was coming in there.
Well, I was hoping we would bypass that one. But
Well,
that was a cool experience. It really was.
It has coined a lot of college flags. So I won't tell you who has printed them or who has paid for those, but you've been a true patriot the entire time. So.
That's great.
But no, we really want to, and kind of what I said earlier, focus on you, but at the same time focus on what God has done through you.
Yeah.
And I really want this to be something the Lord's kind of put on my heart, especially with having guests on, is there's people that I enjoy going back and listening to later on and saying, they played such a crucial part in this amount of my life. But seeing what the Lord had done for them to get them to that point has always been an encouragement to me. I think about a lot of, even with Dr. Hurt and the relationships that he's made with everybody and kind of where our pastor has gotten from to where he's at now. And it really, there can be days that you feel like you don't have a purpose, or maybe this isn't what God's plan was, but inevitably it was all working together for the good.
Yeah.
And that's what my heart has been. I want years from now us to be able to go back and listen to, I think about Caroline and Camry going back and listening and saying, this is what Dad did before.
Yeah.
We've gotten to this part. So that's kind of what I want to do. We'll start as far back as you can remember, in the beginning, I guess.
In the beginning.
But living in Cowpens.
Yeah.
Growing up in Cowpens.
Yep. So my family was heavily involved in church. My dad was a minister of music. My grandfather was a minister of music before him. And so we've been involved in church music my whole life up to this point. And I was raised up in a good home, raised up the right way, saved at a young age like you're talking about, and was part of a great ministry and had great people around me that invested in me, exposed to some of the best preaching in the upstate South Carolina, had some of the best preaching around. And so just been privileged and honored to be able to have that to be a part of my heritage and where I came from. And they say you're a sum total of the people who have invested in you throughout life, and that would be the context of my life. People who have invested in me and trained me and taught me is why I am who I am today. And so I was raised up in a good home. I got to be a teenager, and we had changed churches. We went to a different church. And in high school, I got caught up in the wrong crowd. I didn't want to miss out on something, and so I went to a public school and was in the public school system, and hung out with some people that I shouldn't have hung out with, and was exposed to things that I shouldn't have been exposed to, and so I was running from what I knew the Lord wanted out of my life. He wanted something better than what this world has to offer. But I wanted to be a part of the crowd that everybody saw as the popular crowd, the cool crowd. And so I got exposed to some things. And later on, the later part of my high school years, I hung out with the wrong crowd and did the wrong things and ran from what the Lord was doing in me. And some of the things I was trained and taught to be, I got away from. And so, Brother Bobby has mentioned it, everybody's got a past. And, pastor preached on it Sunday. We all have a past that God don't ever have to go back to acknowledge or even look at to determine where you're going to go. And so I've got a lot of those places in my life where I didn't do the right things, didn't make the right decisions, and got caught up in the wrong things. But I believe that because the Lord showed me what I didn't need to be, and I was exposed to that, it made me want more of what I have now.
Yeah.
And so that is a part of my life, and it all come down, not take up all the time, but of my teenage life, but it all came down to the point where I realized that God had created me for more. He had more for my life, and that's what led me to surrender to preach. And looking back on it now, a lot of that was just me running from that because I didn't know that I could live up to that standard. I didn't know I could live up to that, what all these men that I looked up to were. And so I surrendered to the call. Didn't know what that was going to be like, didn't know what that was going to amount to. I just knew God had something for me, and so I finally surrendered to that.
Now, was that something that you had kind of thought of previously, or, knew the Lord, again, everybody's situation's different, but, kind of going, was it something that you knew this is what the Lord wanted you to do and you surrendered, or was it something that,
I ran from it for a while because my brother had surrendered to preach at a very young age, and he was doing incredible. God was using him in big ways, and I didn't want to live in that shadow.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do it so that other people say, well, he's doing it because his brother's, is a preacher.
Yeah.
And my dad had surrendered to preach during that time, and I definitely didn't want to do it because I didn't want people to think, well, he's surrendered to preach because his brother and his dad's a preacher. And so I just ran from it. I didn't feel that call to preach at a very young, early age. I didn't know what to think God had for me. But when I started dealing with the call to preach, I got to the place where I was miserable doing what I was doing, and knew I didn't need to hang out with the people I was hanging out with. Knew that God had something better for my life, and it was after a ball game one night, a football game we went to, and I'm sitting on a tailgate of a truck, and all my friends are, they're talking about going and partying, doing all this stuff. And it was almost like God spoke to me audibly, and I know He don't do that where we hear Him audibly, but it was almost like I heard Him audibly. And His words were, "You don't belong here."
Yeah.
And I looked around at all those people that I was hanging out with, and I was thinking to myself, you're right. This is not where I need to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's more to my life than this right here. I don't want this for my life. And so that started the journey. How the Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. That started my journey to going after Him, going after the Lord, finding what it is you want from my life. At that time, to answer your question in a broad spectrum of a way, no, I couldn't pinpoint and say, yes, He's calling me to preach. I just knew there was something else out there that I was supposed to be. And it was, we've heard our pastor preach on, Moses turning aside to see the burning bush. But it wasn't until he turned aside to see the burning bush that God told him what He was going to do.
Yeah.
That was exactly what it was in my life. I didn't know I was going to preach. I didn't know anything about what I'm doing now. I didn't see any of that in my future. I just knew I didn't need to be in that crowd I was in.
Yeah.
I knew there was more out there. I knew there was something better out there for my life. And so when I started walking toward the Lord and started moving in His direction, that's when He started leading me in that path. And I was at a youth camp in Mississippi when the Lord told me, I want you to preach. And even then, I didn't surrender to preach. I just remember kneeling down at the steps of a building and telling Him, basically surrendering, saying, whatever you want from my life, I don't want to be miserable. Whatever you want from my life, here I am surrendering to You. And that led me step by step into meeting the right people in my life. I started going to meetings and, camp meetings and youth meetings and all that kind of stuff. And during that time, I was singing in a group, and the Lord was doing a lot with my life to do that, to kind of get me in the right places in these different meetings. And that's where I met the right people that led me to the full surrendering of preaching the gospel. And I spent about 4 or 5 years trying to figure out what that calling was going to be. And in that time was when I met people like Dr. Larry Brown. He was preaching in meetings around us, and I'd go to meetings to hear him preach. And that was when God led me to going and visiting where he's at in North Augusta. And that opened the door for me going to Bible college. So in short, to kind of summarize what we're talking about, it was one door after another that God kind of led me to where I would move to Bible college in 2001. And in that Bible college, I would meet our pastor, like you talked about our pastor. Walking through that door was what led me to meet him. In return, I met his daughter, who I married. I met people like you, met people like Jonathan Sassy, and some of these others that we're working in ministry with. It all started just by turning aside and seeing what God had for me and just walking in his direction. It led me to be who I am today.
Now I want to step back to not the calling to preach,
Yeah.
but the moment you're hanging out with that crowd. How old were you then? I know you're talking about after that football game.
That was the crowd I got involved in. I went in the wrong direction. I was 15, end of 15, beginning of 16 years old, and for about a year and a half, I stayed with that crowd, ran with them, did what they did things that I wouldn't. I speak about it when I'm preaching a little bit, but just I tried everything that they offered me. Yeah. One night they're passing around a joint, and I partake of that. Yeah. They've got one of my friends' dad offers these teenagers alcohol, and I'm partaking of that, and that's what opened the door for me to experience things that I should have never been a part of, that God never intended for me to experience. And I spent a year and a half doing that.
Yeah.
Long enough to realize this is not what I need to be.
Yeah.
This is not what I want to be in my life. And I think, one preacher put it like this: God is not the author of confusion, but he will orchestrate confusion to get you where he wants you to be.
Wow. And
so God didn't want me to go in that direction, but he allowed it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just because he allows it, it doesn't mean he approves of it. And sometimes God will allow you to do some things. Can I put it like this? He'll allow you to get stupid sometimes.
Yeah.
And do stupid things, just so you know this is not who I'm supposed to be. Yeah. And that's where all that started. And so at 17 was when I surrendered to preach. At the end of my, I was about to turn 18.
Yeah.
That's when I surrendered to preach. Yeah. And then, like I said, it took me about 4 years to really get to that place where I was completely sold out to it, and that's when I moved off to Bible college.
Well, one thing I kind of through that I hope, especially like our students here and encouraged by, is it's easy to go to what I would say what we call the bigger moments of that surrender to preach. Mm-hmm. But as I'm hearing that story, all of that didn't start with that call to preach. It all started on that night of just saying, I don't need to be here.
That was it.
And so, that's kind of what we've been alluding to through this episode, is like it's so easy to look at the big moments, of, okay, he got called to preach, and then he moved to Bible college. We kind of like skip the gaps. But, I mean, if you had never in that night after that ball game, if you had never come to that place of saying, this isn't where I need to be, I don't know what I need to be doing.
Yeah.
I have no clue. Like you said, you never saw any of this on the radar.
Right.
But you just knew it's not what you needed to be. And the reason I kind of wanted to circle back around to that is I remember talking with Heather one time, and her kind of saying the same thing in her life of just going down those roads, being in those places, and it just hitting her of like, this ain't me.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't what God has for me to be. And, I look at our life. I mean, her being my wife and serving in the ministry and having the family that we have was never on her radar, but she knew long ago that if nothing else, I can at least get out of what I don't need to be in, and at least just walk towards what God has for me and let Him sort out the rest. It's
a turning point moment.
Yeah,
it's a crossroads moment, so to speak.
Yeah,
it's a moment where you have many, and everybody watching this knows this. And every single one of us have these moments in our lives. Some we recognize it when it happens.
Yeah.
Some we don't. It takes us years down the road before we look back and say, that was my turning point. That was my crossroads. But we all have avenues we can go in.
Yeah.
And young people watching this, they all have many avenues they can go in.
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes God allowing you to go the wrong direction before you realize this is not what I want out of my life.
Yeah.
And we have to have the boldness to walk away from those friends.
Yeah.
We have to have the boldness to say, you know what? I don't know what God's got for me out there, but this is not it.
This ain't it. Yeah.
And that's a turning point moment. That is a crossroads moment, and that is you're right. That's what I always point back to. It didn't start with the first call to go preach a revival.
Yeah.
It didn't start with getting to stand in front of a crowd at Victory and sing. It didn't start with camp meeting at Victory. It started in that moment where I said, I don't know what I'm going to be, but this is not what I need to be.
I love that.
And so, yeah, I can always point back to that moment. And it was that night that I was saved. I just wasn't living it.
Yeah.
I knew I had Jesus, but Jesus at that time didn't have me.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to go every other direction. Wow. And so it really is to look back on it. I wished I had one of them testimonies that says I never had to go in those directions. I never had to experience that stuff. You're raising up my children. We teach them every day. You don't have to live that way. You don't have to go down those paths. You don't have to be exposed to that type of. I don't think you have to have some kind of deep, dark valley that you go through of sin to have a good testimony.
Yeah.
All of us have failed God, fallen short of the glory of God, but you don't have to fall so far that you've got to scratch and claw yourself back into it.
Yeah.
And so I don't want that for my children.
Yeah.
And I want to be an example that they don't have to be that way.
Yeah.
But that is a place where I go back to in my life, and I'm humbled by it because and it's an emotional moment for me too. I've got friends that was in that crowd who was raised up the same way that I was raised up, who didn't get out of that.
Wow.
And I know one of them right now that is in heaven because he didn't get out of it, and he died in that, and because of that route, and that always kind of registers with me. It's a sombering moment. It's a heartbreaking moment because people wouldn't know who I am. And I wouldn't be who the Lord has allowed me to be, and I wouldn't have the family that I have today if God didn't reach in there and pull me out of that.
Wow.
And so I often look back on who I could be today if it wasn't for the grace of God.
Absolutely.
And so, all those are things in my life that I often go back to and look back at, and it's all Him. You talked about at the beginning of it. We're focusing on Him and who He is, and it is just it's a testimony of grace that God has brought in my life, of where He brought me from, where I could have been today. Yeah. And so it was a turning point moment in my life.
I think about sometimes even too when you said it, you almost said it without saying it, but we all as Christians a lot of times, having that Holy Spirit inside of us, know when we're doing things we shouldn't be doing. And I even think about the prodigal son, the phrase when he came to himself, and he said, I know this isn't where I'm supposed to be.
Oh, yeah.
But there's so many, and this has been my burden, this has been my heart for our teens, our friends. I mean, I'm 24. I've got friends. It's like, man, I wish you would just come to yourself and you would just see and give into that reality that you want to say isn't there. I think your testimony in that time span is interesting because there's so many testimonies that said, I felt the same way, but I just continued. Yeah. And I continued doing what I wanted to do. And it's not to say that God speaks to you or the Holy Spirit speaks to you and says, you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and yeah, I'm going to call you in full-time evangelism, and you're going to be gone for this many months out of the year.
Right. Yeah.
But it's you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing right now, and you get the husband that you need, and you have the kids that you need. And really, my testimony doesn't have any of that in there. But there was things later on that the Lord gave me a testimony for, to still be able to say, you know, I still have a purpose for you.
Yeah.
And the encouraging thing for me in that section of your life is that, you know, you did listen to the Lord. But my burden, especially for our teenagers, is, you know, there's going to be a turning point time in your life.
Yeah.
And it's going to be whether you do what you're supposed to or you don't. And the sad reality is, you know, a lot of them aren't, and a lot of them don't.
It's really a sad reality of what are they missing out on based on one decision.
Yeah.
I mean, think about, like, if you had made the decision to go the other way, and I mean, you can look at it now, obviously, of everything. Not that, I mean, you might have had in your eyes, a good life, but it wouldn't have been what God had for you. And it's amazing how one decision can either put us in this life we never thought was possible, or miss out on all this stuff that God has in store for us.
Yeah.
And I think so many times we don't make the decision to step away from that because it can be an uncertain thing. You know, I mean, I'm sure there was probably a comfort in that crowd and things like that, and just doing what you want to do. And it's that uncertainty of, I've known this for a while.
It was a place to belong.
Yeah.
And just because you're surrounded by people you feel like you belong with, or you've got friends that you're with, it doesn't mean that you're in the right place.
Yes.
There's always going to be people out there you can connect with, but that don't mean that that's who God wants you with.
Yes.
And it's not just having what's, in your eyes, what's good, what's best.
Yes.
You know, I don't want to trade what's good for what is great. Yeah. You know, I don't want to give up what the great things that God's got for me just to have something that's good to me.
Yeah.
And so, I think 100% you're on target with it. Like the prodigal son you brought up, he didn't get all the things that his father gave to him when he made up his mind. He didn't. Restoration took place, but he didn't get restoration until he went back to the Father's house.
Yeah.
But what did change in his life, what was his turning moment, was he looked around and realized, my Father has hired servants that are living better than this.
Yeah.
I would rather be somebody that's serving at my Father's house.
Yeah.
And it wasn't his father, and I've said this before, his father didn't go after him. It was the memory of what his father had done for all those people that was around him.
Wow.
And so, you know, sometimes it's what God reminds you of, that, you know, it's not somebody coming after you, but it's what you know that is better that's out there that draws you back to the Father's house. And so that's what it was for my life. And I didn't mean to interrupt you in that.
No.
But yeah, I think a lot of young people, they feel like, well, I belong here. Well, but do you?
Yeah.
Just because you've made yourself fit in a place doesn't mean that you're the puzzle piece that fits there.
Yeah.
God may have intended for you to fit somewhere else, but you're forcing it. It's like that little kid that had that jigsaw puzzle. And I used to do this when I was a kid, trying to force that piece in. And the mama looked at the kid and said, "What are you doing?" And said, "Well, I'm trying to make this fit." "Well, it don't fit there." "Well, I'm going to make it fit."
Yeah.
And she said, "You may make it fit, but the picture's going to be off."
Yeah.
Because it's got to fit in the right place. And so many times we try to make ourselves fit in a place that, well, I can make it fit.
Yeah.
But the problem is the picture don't add up.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, people who marry the wrong person, they live the rest of their lives with the picture not working. It doesn't look right. and they don't understand why. It's because you try to force something to happen that it's not supposed to happen. And I didn't mean to get preachy on you, but I felt like a lot of our young people are making decisions, and that's why they put people like God has put people like Justice and Brother Bobby and all these others, Miss Heather and everybody else in your lives to be able to help you see that's not what God has intended for you. He's got another path for you.
That's right. I tell them all the time, if there's a little bit of my life that tells you what not to do more than what to do, listen to it, because I mean we've been there, and it's just one of those things of I don't dare glory in what I was before.
Yeah.
But man, if they can learn from it, and if they can realize, and again, that is just, you can make that choice. Like, you don't have to wait till you're older to make that choice. You can get out of that friend group. You can get out of those things that are not what God has for you.
Right.
And not miss out. I think that's the biggest fear that I have, or thing that probably breaks my heart for teens the most, is I see the potential that's there, and then I see where they go, and it's like, man, God had so much more for you, and I wish you could just see it the way God sees it, and what God has in store for your life. Again, it may not be an evangelist on the road. It may not be what I do or anything like that, but it's definitely better than what they got, and it's definitely better than what they think is what is for their life right now.
Let me ask you a question while we're on the subject of all this. Do you feel like young people don't understand? They don't have a good perspective of God, of who He is. Like, it's almost like He's out to ruin their fun.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
But they don't understand how much He loves them.
Yes.
That was me as a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how much He loves me and wants to give me the best.
Yeah.
They think, man, if I surrender to Him, He's going to put me with the most boring people, the worst. But we don't understand that He wants you to enjoy life.
Yes.
He's not into taking your fun. He wants to show you what real fun really is. And do you feel like, working with young people, you would have a better perspective of this than even I do, but do you feel like they just don't understand the heart of God enough to trust Him?
Oh, I believe that.
That He's got the right people out there.
I believe that, because, I mean, I had that mentality. And I think a lot of it is we treat God almost so much like our mom and dad at home, of just all these rules, and we got to abide by this, And, I mean, even looking back at that, I can see that things my dad put in place were not because he just didn't want me to enjoy life. It's just wanted me to do it and be safe and be in a good place when I was doing it. I teach ethics, with our day school, and I've talked about that before of, this Bible, I've related it like this. This Bible, we either view it as, and God's will, all of it together, we either view it as a roadblock or guardrails. And it's one of those things of, we can either view it as it's stopping me from doing what I want to do, or it's just keeping me safe on the thing that God has for me to do.
Man, that's great, Bobby, yeah.
And it's like, like you said, it's not that God doesn't, I mean, He said it clearly. He said, I've come to give you life and give you life more abundantly. Like, He
more
wants
abundant life.
Yes. Yeah. He wants to give us this great life.
If you even knew what He has for you.
But be safe in doing it. Yeah. Don't fall off the side of the mountain. Don't ruin and wreck your life. Be safe within the context or within the will that God has for you. And I look at, I got family in the mountains, and I've driven all those roads all before. Those guardrails never kept me from getting to the place I wanted to go.
Man, yeah, that's good.
But it kept me safe. And guess what? I got to get to that place.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, we were driving, Heather and I, one time, we were driving in Pigeon Forge. We had rented a Jeep Wrangler for the day. And we were driving through some of those passes. We were going Dragon's Tail, all that stuff. We rode through all that. Well, one of the places we came to was Lake Fontana. Mm-hmm. And we went to the top of Lake Fontana at the Lake Fontana Dam that's there. And every bit of that road, mountains, drop-offs, this and that, guardrails, all this stuff, man, we come around the corner. And all of a sudden, man, it's getting later in the evening. That sun's shining over that lake. All this beauty that we was able to see. And guess what? All of that did was keep us safe to get to that place.
Yeah.
And there's no telling the beauty. There's no telling the greatness. And there's no telling the thing that God has for your life that we would be so in awe when we finally see it. But we'll never get there if we view it as a roadblock. We'll
Man,
never get there if we
that's
think
good.
God's keeping us from that place
Yeah.
in our life.
Yeah.
And I do. I think they view it as that. It's just I can't, and I think that's why they wait till later. I really do. I think that's why they're like, well, I'll do it later. I'll have my fun now, and then I'll let God have my life later.
Yeah.
When God's like, look, you can enjoy it all right now. Just
Right.
make that decision to step into what I have for you.
Yeah. It's a surrender. You have to give up your will for His.
Yeah.
But we have to know, first of all, God is not going to be outdone by the devil.
Yeah.
He is way better to his kids than the devil could ever be to his kids. But we see it like the devil lets you do whatever you want to. But we don't realize, no, he don't. The devil entices and tries to lure you into a trap.
Yeah.
And whatever he tries to give you and show you is not what we think it is. It's not real fun. It's not real joy. It's not real happiness. It's all fake. And so he'll lure you in. So like Brother Mark always uses the lure, the shiny lure. That fish thinks that's a treat. It thinks, well, that's going to satisfy my appetite. But that lure has hooks on it. It's not food. It's not a treat. It's a trap.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, young people today, if I could tell them anything about my past and where God brought me from, is just stick with the people who are trying to help you. The guardrails. I love that. That's a great analogy, because they're trying to steer you around sidestep the landmines of your life.
Yeah.
That could damage your life. They're trying to get you to a destination, trying to get you to the place where God can give you what He wants. But you have to be patient with Him and allow Him to do that.
Absolutely.
And so, I think that's right on topic for all young people today, because there's so many things out there. In fact, there's more enticements out there for my children, than there were for me. I didn't have Facebook back then. I didn't have social media back then.
Yeah.
And I still made the wrong decisions. And so we blame all that on, how bad, quote unquote, bad young people live today. No, young people were living bad back in my day. We didn't have none of that.
Yeah.
You can't blame that. It's just another avenue.
Documented as much.
That's right, exactly.
On social media.
It's not that, that we didn't have things out there. It's just one more avenue for them to get involved in something that they shouldn't be involved in. But that's why God put people like you two in their lives to try to help.
Yeah.
So going to college, graduating high school.
That's right. We were talking about my life.
Going to
Felt like preaching there for a
We had
minute.
a good little segue there.
It might.
He kept scooting his mic just a little bit farther away. I was like, I'm going to try to push
Starting to
it.
hack.
But no, graduating high school, was it a short time that you, of course, going to college, but, of course, with my situation, I waited a year and for reasons, but decided to go. Was that something that you came straight out of high school and went to college, or?
I went to college, but I didn't go to Bible college. I like I said, I surrendered to preach early, but I had some people in my life that kept telling me, you need to go get a secular degree before you get in the ministry. Yeah. And they meant well, in what they were saying. And I don't deny that at all. And so I went to secular colleges, and pursued different avenues, secular jobs. And so I went to college and trained to be a draftsman for an architect, and went and worked for an architect, and then left the architect and went and worked for a civil engineer and was doing drafting for them, and did that for a couple years, and really did well with it. Got paid good. I was a single man, had a nice car, had a girlfriend at the time, and man, I had everything that I thought I wanted, but was still miserable. Yeah. And didn't realize why I was miserable. I was sitting there working in my office and working on a computer. We're doing a layout. The fiber optic cables that they come in and they've put in that got rid of the old cable business. We were laying out fiber optic cables in the city, and I'm drawing these maps, and I'm sitting there staring at a computer screen, making good money, got a great job, benefits, all that. And I thought, this is my life. And all I could think about was, I'm sitting here and the only witness I have is me witnessing to a computer screen. And I said, there's more to my life than this. And it was another one of those moments where I realized this is not what God intended for me either. I wasn't doing anything with the call to preach. I was just trying to earn a paycheck and have a career, but it was not where I needed to be.
I was going to ask, were you preaching much through that time?
No. And, there were some people in my life, like I didn't have, at the time, didn't have the spiritual guidance that I have here. And like, there were certain people in my life that they kind of raised an eyebrow about my call to preach. And so I didn't get many opportunities. Okay. I had one preacher who said, well, you think you're called to preach now, but we'll see. It was kind of like the statement. Wow. That was a preacher who told me that. And it kind of like put the fire out.
Yeah.
And, fast forward to today, this is a commercial basically, but one of the reasons that I want to encourage young preachers is because back in that day, I didn't have a lot of that. In fact, some of the people in my life that I had in my life didn't really encourage the call to preach.
Yeah.
They didn't encourage me to go to a Bible college. They didn't encourage me to learn more. They just kind of raised an eyebrow and said, because honestly, in their defense, they heard me preach one time and they thought, there's no way this guy's gone. And if you heard that sermon that I preached the first time, it was terrible. And so I understand why they didn't think he's probably not called. And so I didn't really have a lot of that backing back then for somebody to kind of push me in that direction. And so I didn't do anything with the call to preach. I was not preaching anywhere. I had one preacher, I walked up to him in those days and I said, hey, if you ever need anybody come preach for you on a Wednesday night, I'm available. I'd love to fill your pulpit.
Yeah.
He put his arm around me and he said, I have to be real careful about who I put in my pulpit.
Oh, no.
He said, I'm really jealous about who I put in my pulpit because I can't just let anybody up there.
Oh, man.
And so I'm like, well, all right. That kind of took the fire out of me. And, but, hindsight 2020, looking back on that, that was probably God directing me. Yeah. To where I could find, when I met people like Steve Hurt and Larry Brown and the encouragement they gave to me during those years, that because of I didn't get it in other places, that really pointed me in their direction. Yeah. And that's probably what God used to draw me that way. I've made sure that I don't want to be that type that discourages a young preacher. But
that's not good for college attendance.
It's not. No, not at all. But anyway, during those times, I was trying to figure out who I was supposed to be, where I was supposed to go, and so I didn't have a lot of places to go preach during that time, so I didn't do anything with it. So I feel like you could say it. I wasted some years, but really it was just God, showing me again what I didn't need to do. Yeah. And even though I had that training to be a draftsman and made good money, I knew that's not what I wanted to be for the rest of my life. And so it wasn't long after that I started attending meetings, camp meetings and youth meetings where, I met Larry Brown and found out he had a Bible college. And I had a friend who went to that Bible college and he invited me to go. And during that time, not to take a lot of your time because I don't even know where we're at with all this, but I lost my sister. My sister passed away. And at the end of 2001, she passed away in August of 2001, and really shook my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, that was the first time I had lost somebody that was really, really close to me. And it really, you know, at that age when you're 20 years old and you lose somebody that's so vital in your life, that's so close to you, it just kind of hits the reset in your life, and you start putting things in perspective and realize how fragile life is. And that's the way I felt about my sister. And so I kind of stopped and went. I didn't go through a depression, but I went through a dark place in my life. And man, you know, my parents, they were dealing with it, and it shook our whole world, you know, our whole family, because we just never saw it coming. And she was 26 when she died, and had a little boy who was 4 years old, who now we're trying to help through all this. And it just shook our world and shook the very foundation of what I was building my life on. And that was when I really started looking for something. What does life mean? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? And that's when I met Larry Brown. And he told me he had a Bible college, and I went to his college one night on a Thursday night to just sit in a class. And I got there late, so I didn't get to sit in the class, but I went to the church service that they had on Thursday night. And he wasn't there. Just a little blip in the map of my life. He wasn't there at the first part of the service, and so I thought I missed him. And I'm sitting in the very first time I went to his church, and I'm sitting at Victory Baptist Church in North Augusta, a Thursday night. Larry Brown's not there. Steve Hurt's up leading the music. I don't know who's preaching that night, and so I'm just sitting there. And then about halfway through the service, while the choir was singing, Preacher Brown walks in and sits down. And it was almost like the spirit of the service kind of picked up when he walked in halfway through the service. And he got up in the pulpit, and he gets up, and his very first statement was, "I'm not supposed to be here tonight." Mm. And which got my attention. I didn't know what was going on. But his nephew had passed away with cancer that week. He had been at the funeral home and wasn't supposed to be there that night.
Wow.
And he come walking in, and he stands in the pulpit, and he says, "I'm not supposed to be here tonight. I just came from the funeral home, but God told me I needed to be here tonight for a specific purpose and a reason." He said, "I don't know what that is, but I came anyway." He said, "I want to preach." And so everybody's amen and preach, preacher. And I'm watching intently. He just said he had came from the funeral home. I just went through the death of my sister. Mm-hmm. So it kind of registered with me. He got up and preached a sermon called "Old Death, I Got Something to Tell You." and preached from the verse of Scripture that says, "This is your hour in the power of darkness," where Jesus is addressing the Roman soldiers before his death.
Yeah.
And he's talked about this is the hour, death has his hour. But then he preached, "Old death, I got something to tell you. This may be your hour. You may have a moment. You may bring heartache to families. Death at times brings discouragement to families. Sometimes you got to walk through the cemetery. Sometimes you got to go through death's door. But old death, I got something to tell you. Mm. God has his hour as well."
Yeah.
And he preached on this is God's hour. And there was not a sermon that anybody could ever preach that would have reached where I was living at that moment, like that sermon.
Wow.
And that was the moment where God told me, you know, this is what I want for your life.
Yeah.
This is where you need to be. And so I went to the altar that night and just wept and poured it out. And it was another one of those moments where I told God, I'm surrendering to you whatever you want out of my life. I, at that time, didn't know that was going to victory. I just knew he wanted something else out of my life other than a computer in an office in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And so the very next week, I went back down there on Thursday And after the service, I go in to meet Larry Brown. He's shaking hands with people. And I shook his hand and I told him, I said, that sermon you preached last week, I can't tell you all about it. I know you're busy, but I want you to know that helped me more than anything.
Yeah.
And he said, tell me about what sermon you're talking about. He said, son, I preach 100 sermons a week. Tell me what sermon you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I told him that Thursday night. And he said this, he said, listen, I need you to stay right here. I'm going to come back to you, but don't go anywhere. He walked away and then came back, and he grabbed me and walked me into the meeting with all of his staff. Mm-hmm. And he got up and he said, listen, last week I got up in a pulpit on Thursday night after coming from the funeral home for my nephew, and I preached a sermon. And when I walked down that pulpit, the devil told me, you made the biggest mistake of your life. You should have never left that funeral home and left your family over there. He said, and so all week I've been beating myself up.
Wow.
Until this young boy walked in and told me what he told me. He said, I want you to tell them what you told me. And so I walked them through. Are we good on time?
We're good. Yeah.
He said, I walked them through everything that I just went through just a couple months before with my sister dying, and me going through that dark place and trying to figure out what God wanted for my life. And I told that whole staff there. And man, by the end of it, we're all just boo-hooing and crying. And I told them, I said, this message that Preacher Brown preached last week could not have helped anybody. No other sermon could have been preached that reached me where I was at.
Yeah.
And he used that by telling them, and we've heard him do it before, or after all that, he said, you never know who you're helping. Mm-hmm. And you never know that nudge that you get from the Holy Spirit to go do something. You need to do it anyway. He's telling his staff there. I didn't realize, Bobby, at the time, but that same staff he's talking to is a staff that I was going to be a part of one day. But God had orchestrated all those things.
Yeah.
The death of his nephew. Again, he's not the author of confusion. God is not. But he will author your life in confusion. And he's talking to this staff and using me, a kid he didn't know, his story, to a staff that one day I would be a part of.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it when I walked through those doors, but I would work for that same man later. And so God started orchestrating all that. To sum up everything, when I walked out of that meeting that night, he said, hey, you know how he can holler at you.
Yeah.
I stuck my head around the corner. He said, are you a preacher? I said, yes, sir, I am. He said, you smell like a preacher. He said, I got a Bible college with a chair, and it's got your name on it upstairs. He said, we're starting Bible college in January. I want you to be here. Yeah. And sure enough, in January, I walked in the door, and that's where my Bible college days started. Yeah. At Victory. And I didn't realize it, but a year later, I would be working on staff at that church.
Wow. I think what's crazy through that, too, and I mean, it's one of those things that you tread lightly in saying this, but, you know, you talk about the death of his nephew, and not that we would ever want to lose a family member, but if you hadn't gone through what you'd gone through with your sister,
yeah.
I mean, if you'd never had those feelings, if you'd never gone through, and again, we don't want to say that because we want to lose somebody for God to bring us through things,
right?
But yeah. It's a testament to how God can take a tragedy and turn it into, not to sound like an old song, into a testimony, and God can use that of God brought you to that place with those feelings in your life, use that sermon to resonate to those feelings. And arguably to say that if it wasn't for that valley, would you have stayed comfortable in Spartanburg? Would you have stayed comfortable doing those things? That, I mean, again,
most
had
likely.
a good life. That
most
you were,
likely.
not
yeah.
that you weren't doing wrong things, you know, all that stuff. Living a life that was a good life, but it's sometimes those valleys and those things that God allows us to go through that is also part of that orchestration to get us to those places.
God doesn't make the mess of your life, but he will draw a ministry out of the mess.
Wow.
And he's done that in my life in several places. I can take you through several places of my life. And all of us, everybody, my life is no different than anybody else's. I'm no better than anybody else, and I'm not to be. My life is not to be put in a book above anybody else's, because we all have a story.
Yeah.
Every single one of us has a story, and he's the author and finisher of our faith. He's the author of the story. He's the one that writes the story if we will give him the pen and allow him to do it. And I'm just a living testimony, just like he is and just like you are. God brought you from North Carolina. God brought you from Alabama. God brought you from across the street. He brought me from upstate South Carolina. We all have a story that he's trying to write.
Yeah.
And there's low places, there's bad places, there's bad things, but God can take all that mess and make a ministry out of it if we'll just let him do it. And that's all I am. That's all my life is. I look back on it and how did I get to be in this seat? How did I get to be here? I don't know. All I know is to tell you, and if there's a verse that sums up my life completely, it's out of the book of Psalms, and it says, "This is the Lord's doings, and it is marvelous in our eyes." My life is his workings, and I just stand back in awe of it. I'm just thankful. You know, I thought that you started talking about the thing that happened, a couple weeks ago in Washington, D.C. I'm sitting in the middle of the house, and I've seen these people that are walking around. I've seen them on TV before, and I'm like, how did you get here?
Yeah. I'd have loved to have seen your face when you got that phone call.
Oh, my goodness. It was crazy. I'm like, you want me to pray and open what?
Yeah.
It was just, it's a phenomenal thing that God just proves times and times again that he'll put you, the Bible talks about he will put you before great men if you allow him to.
Yeah.
He will put you in places of greatness that you never experienced before if you allow him to write your story.
Yeah.
If I was writing it, I'd probably still be in Cowpens. And you know what? That's okay. If he wanted me to live in Cowpens and be somebody that nobody knew, that's okay.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing wrong with that. But I'm a living testimony of what he's done. But the avenue from Spartanburg, you asked how did I get from Spartanburg to North Augusta, the college. It was a lot of confusion on my part and a lot of orchestration on God's part.
Yeah.
It's an encouragement to see, and kind of some stuff I want to get into just a little bit. But, the steps that you said it a minute ago, look back in hindsight's 2020 of seeing, what the Lord is doing, not understanding, and then it making sense. There was a quote that Jason Holly taught, and he said in Bible college one night, he said, God didn't make any mistakes, and he won't start with you. And I've never forgotten.
That's good.
I've never forgotten that quote, because there's been so many times I know in my life, I know in our teenagers' lives and in adults' lives, we've hit a point where it says it's over. And there was times where I see, even just in the little bit that we've talked here, where you've had a fork in the road and you've had to make a decision, and a decision was made, and you've went a little bit and hit a fork in the road and a decision was made. And we look back on people's lives and we say, what the Lord did in their life, but it was an accumulation of, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and it's just taking one step after the next, after the next. And we always, that there's times that we might think we've messed up, and at the end of the day, the Lord still had it in his plans. And it's an encouragement to see, I'm trying not to rush what's been on my mind all week since we've planned you being here, but, what the Lord has done in your life that I'm sure at times laying down at night say, this is it, this is what it's all going to be. And him having so much more of that abundant life. So, going to college, we could make a whole nother episode, I'm sure, on the 4 years of going to college. That's what one of the guys were talking about the other day. I don't know if there's a difference in how crazy secular colleges are than to Bible college. And I would almost dare to say some of the Bible colleges at times can be more crazier than...
I've been to both.
It feels like it sometimes.
You're not going to miss out on any of the fun going to a secular college.
I was about to say, now that is a whole episode of dorm days.
Oh, yeah.
And all
We
that.
just remember what happened the next day.
Podcast all in itself. Just the many stories of not only my 4 years of college, but even after that.
Oh, yeah.
Your 4
I've
years
been
of
in
college.
some of those stories, too,
Yeah. There's so much that can be said. But no, I've been to both secular college, and I have no issue with anybody that goes to secular college. But the experience of Bible college far exceeds it. There's no words you can say to express it. But yeah, it was something else.
And kind of before we kind of get off, kind of going through with Carr Family Ministries and kind of continue on with that, for the college students, going to, again, if we were going through my testimony, it would be step after step after step of what someone else had to go through for them to say, I just saw that one of my friends shared something that there's a new college starting. And me seeing that progression of the Lord working in my life and finally coming here, what would be one piece of advice for a college student saying, there's something more for my life, I just don't know what it is? What would be something that you would enter a quote or a statement in there?
Well, I would have to say, look around where you are. If where you are is not where you feel like you need to be, then you're going to have to get up and go. You're going to have to go do something. You're going to have to move in God's direction. And he will put the right people in your life. He will put the right avenues in your life. Our Bible college, the door is always open, and we tell students...
Which is Carolina
Bible College. That's right. Yes.
I just want to give a little plug there.
Carolina Bible College, CBC, in Anderson, South Carolina. Under the umbrella of Temple Baptist Church in Anderson, South Carolina. We tell students all the time, I might have said this to you, you make a decision to come here. If you get in the middle of it and realize this is not what God wanted for me, then you're not too far that you can't go back home. Yeah. But you'll never experience it if you don't step out by faith. God's not going to give you the 4 years in a play script to show you what your 4 years are going to be like. He's not going to tell you. He's not even going to tell you what your first semester is going to be like. He's just going to give you a nudge. Yeah. That, hey, this is what I want for you. And it's the little steps. I often think about Simon Peter. When Jesus entered into his ship, the Bible said that he thrust out a little from the land. It was a little step. Then after he teaches and he preaches to them, then he told Simon Peter, now thrust out and go out into the deep, launch out into the deep. Yeah. So thrust out from a little from the land. So little steps lead to launching steps. Yeah. But you can't just jump head first into the deep waters. Yeah. God won't let you do that because you'll drown. Yeah. You have to take it little by little steps at a time that lead you to the big steps. And so it may just be, putting in an application at a Bible college, or it may just be coming and sitting in on a class. I think about Casey. Casey, who is a great cameraman today, has done such a great job. He started coming in and just sitting in on the classes. Yeah. And, I don't know if I'm letting the cat out of the bag, but I have heard that you are signed up and ready to go for next semester.
That's right.
But it started with just, hey, I'm going to go check it out, see what this is like. and that's what God does. He just wants to see, are you going to be faithful in the little to lead you to the launching?
No, that's good. Yeah, no, I just think it's an important part, especially with, picking a college, making sure that you are picking the one that, of course, Christ wants you to attend.
Right. Yeah.
And also finishing well with it. And I think that plays a big part in, finishing what you start and starting where you're supposed to. So I think it's a big crucial part, especially with Bible college, of being where the Lord wants you to be. So.
Yeah, and I don't think that God hides His will. I think he the Bible said it's the glory of God to conceal a matter, but it's the honor of kings to search it out. So He don't hide it from you, but He makes you search it. He makes you go after Him. And I think God will reveal what He wants you to do in many various ways, like He did my life. And He'll bring the right people into your life to kind of help you along as well. When Samuel heard the voice of the Lord speaking to him, he didn't know the voice of the Lord. He didn't understand. He even thought that it was, Eli that was talking to him. That's how he did not understand, or how he could recognize the voice of God. But Eli knew it was God speaking. And so God puts certain people in your life to kind of help you discern the voice of God and what God's trying to tell you, if you're willing to listen to Him. Mm-hmm. And so, I agree with you. I think you ought to be willing to finish what God starts, because there'll be enough reasons to not finish. And so, a lot of Bible college students get in it and then get out as quick as they got in. And but I think it's vitally important to stick with it. The devil will give you enough reasons to not serve God.
Yeah.
And so you just have to be willing to, be bold enough to not listen to the things of the world, not be distracted, but to go after what God's called you to do. And it's not just, I want to accomplish one semester. It's, I want to walk across that stage. That's what you have to set your goal as. And then I want God to propel me from this place into a ministry somewhere.
Sure.
You got to know what your goals are, set them, and go get them.
Good. Yeah, I remember my first night of Bible college, and
I remember that well too.
y'all getting up there and not like trying to be mean or not trying to discourage us, but it was that everybody look around, see who you're sitting beside, and there's going to be a lot of these people that are not here in 4 years. And I remember sitting there, I was like, that can't be true. I'm like, we're where God wants us to be. I mean, all this stuff.
Everybody's excited.
Yeah, everybody's excited, all that
Who
stuff.
wouldn't want to do this?
I know.
Not me. I'll finish.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish.
And but I remember looking around after 4 years, and it was very true. And I remember after my first full year, it was a big choice for me, because it was that, do I go home? And do I come back, or do I just stay? Mm-hmm. Because, I'd never moved away from home. And not that I was like way far away, but I was 4 hours away from home. And I remember, of course, my mom, she's like, you coming back home for the summer, all that stuff. And initially I was like, yeah. I was like, and I was going to work with my dad at the job he's at. And I remember sitting in my dorm one day and just praying about things, all that stuff. And I remember just getting clarity of like, I don't need to leave. And I remember having that conversation of telling, and kind of what you're talking about, of you can have every reason to not finish. And I remember telling my mom, saying, Mom, if I go back home now, I will not come back. And that was a big decision for me, because I'm very close with my mom and dad, missed them a lot, obviously. And for my mom, I remember her talking about how tough that was to hear. You talk to her now, she's like, that's the best decision he made.
Oh, yeah.
Because I probably wouldn't have gone back. And you're right, it's one of those things of, even since we've started Carolina Bible College, of guys that it's amazing how it's like, oh, God's told me to go here. And then they get a semester or two in and like, well, God's called me to do something else.
Oh, yeah.
Well, really? Like,
God changes His mind a lot.
Yeah.
When it comes to Bible college.
Yeah.
You can hear it a lot.
Yeah.
It's something that I think we ought to take some time and talk about. We got to the place where if it gets hard, then it can't be God's will.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, when you go back home, and we're using that as an example, it's not just going back home, but it's other places. If you just go for what's comfortable, you're never going to accomplish what's great.
Yeah.
If you live in what's comfortable and what you've always done, you're never going to experience what you've never done. And the problem is of course, it's a whole lot more comfortable to go back home to your family.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, it's a whole lot easier just to go hang out with
rent,
the people.
free food, all that stuff.
Of course,
Yeah.
It's almost like we don't realize that. We don't understand that you're going to be accepted at your own house with your own people. Of course you are. But just because something's hard don't mean you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you look through the Bible, and it was the difficult routes that God usually led his people on.
Yeah.
It's the places that wasn't the easiest route.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the straightest route. It wasn't the most convenient route.
Yeah.
But that's a part of the story. You know, why wouldn't you want that in life? Why, you know, God will take you through hard places, but it makes you who you're supposed to be.
Absolutely.
So you're right. I remember those days, and you were one of the few who stuck it out.
Yeah.
And look what God's done with you.
Oh,
now.
absolutely.
You have the #1 podcast in the world because you stuck it out.
That's right. That's right. I stuck with it. No, I remember pulling up there and just seeing all this stuff, and I'm like, man, I don't know about all this, you know, because like I said, I'd never moved away.
Yeah, talk about pulling up to the dorm.
Oh man, well, our guys at CVC have it a lot.
Oh my
a lot
goodness,
better, a lot better than
they don't even know.
When I pulled up, it was gated or fenced in. Not gate. I was about to say it sounded like gated community.
There was a gate.
There was a gate, not gated community.
Rarely
fenced in, rarely
was
shut.
it closed.
Yeah. Or the front door. But
the door wouldn't shut at all.
Wouldn't shut at all. And I pull up, and I remember my dad saying, "This ain't it," and we kept driving past it.
This can't be.
This can't be it, because it was just like this open metal structure, which we didn't know was the tabernacle at the time, where we had the services.
Oh yeah.
And then just this white block building. And so we literally drove past
cinder block.
Yes.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
It looked like
no sheetrock inside. None of that. Well, other than the few hallway doors.
It looked like a small little prison area.
A little bit. The only thing we're missing was barbed wire on top of the fence.
That's right.
So, but we pulled past it, realized we had passed it, come back to you walking out the front door waving, and my dad's like,
"Hey,
this is it."
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, you definitely got to make sure you want that. I mean, just to make sure you want to stay. But I mean, it's so true. I mean, I wouldn't trade. I wouldn't trade what God has done, looking back, even with the hard times, because there was moments. I remember I went through probably 9 jobs in about 4 years. I will say this, not because of lack of work ethic. I worked very hard. But it would be those where they bring in 3 months at a time, and right before your benefits kicked in, they'd be like, "Oh, we don't need you anymore."
Yeah. All
this stuff, and a lot of struggles through that, and just wondering things. But you know what? In the hard times was some of the sweetest times in my relationship with God, because if it wasn't for those moments, I wouldn't have seen how God can provide through those things. It's easy to think, or it's easy to know God will do something on the mountaintop and when the sun's shining, but when it's in between jobs, and
He makes you depend on Him.
Yes, yeah, and whether it was eating ramen, or whether it was a sweet old lady in the church,
worst.
yes, I know, or whether it was a sweet old lady in the church calling saying, "Hey, we cooked a meal for you dorm guys. Just come on over," when you're like, "I ain't got nothing to eat tonight."
Yeah.
But God proved Himself, and I think there's a whole side of our relationship with God that we miss out on if we just always bypass the hard times.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll never see how God can work, and we'll never see what God can do. But I'll be honest, God has probably been sweeter in the valleys at times than He ever was on the mountaintop.
I agree.
Just because of seeing what He could do through those moments.
Yes, sir.
So kind of going through with college, graduating, Victory.
Yep.
Finishing up with Victory. You know, you kind of talked about staying and working after graduating Victory? So,
Well, I actually, 1 year into going to college, I started doing maintenance at the church. And so I wanted a job. I was working a job down there. When I moved there, I tried to get a job doing what I was doing in Spartanburg, kind of still trying to do the drafting. And so I did work with the office, but they kept me hours. The hours were long, and it started interfering with college. And so I realized I can't do this. So I did little odds and ends stuff. And the first year, after the first year of college, I went to Dr. Larry Brown, and I said, I heard you had a guy just who was on maintenance staff who just left, and he went to go work at a church. And the very night he turned his keys in,
You got the keys.
I walked up to him, and somebody had told me, said, hey, so-and-so just got called to a church. There may be a position at the church if you need a job. And so I went straight to preacher. And I asked him, I said, hey, listen, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'll vacuum, clean toilets, I'll take out trash, whatever. I'd love to have that job.
Yeah.
And he was like, how much do you need? And I told him what I was making at this other job. And he was like, oh, okay, well, we'll pray about it. We'll pray about it. And I was like, I said, well, I mean, I'll do whatever you want me to do. How much do you need to live off of? And I said, well, I got this bill, and I got this bill. I got this bill. He said, I'll give you $100 a week. And I was like, but I got this bill, and I got this bill, $100 a week.
Yeah.
I said, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So that's what I started doing. So I did that. My sophomore year in college, I was working at the church on maintenance, and which led to other jobs later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where it all started.
That started the famous backpack vacuums all through the sanctuary.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
They started using those probably about 2 years after I was working on maintenance. Yeah. The backpacks were pretty cool.
Yeah.
We had those.
Oh, you had them old heavy ones.
You had to put the lines in the carpet. Preacher loved the lines in the carpet.
Oh, I've heard.
He wanted it perfect.
I have heard.
He loved it, so that we had to learn to do that.
Just
I wasn't real good
carpet.
with it. First few times I'd go over the lines, and then I'd leave footprints in it, and he was like, that don't work.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you had to go backwards.
I will say this, too, just as a quick note, and obviously a lot more we're getting into, but, one of the things that I always, to anybody, and I don't say just Bible college, but just, be faithful in where God's planted you, because I have seen guys, and I will say in Bible college, they just kind of sit and they just kind of wait, and it's either, well, I'm waiting for that next phone call to go preach, or I remember being in the dorm one time and somebody not having a job and getting a phone call for a job. And then be like, well, I got to pray about it. If that's what God has. I'm like, it's money. It's a paycheck.
yeah.
Like, it's what God has for you. But I remember in times of not having a job, as far as, in North Augusta there, just riding up to Victory and just saying, hey, is there anything y'all need me to do or anything like that? And I remember times, I remember recarpeting the Sunday school annex. It was me and Mark Muskovic. Yep. And Chris Brown up there recarpet, and I had just lost a job, and they somehow found out I did flooring, which meant they just wanted me to glue, and so they didn't have to bend down so much.
Oh yeah,
because I had younger knees than they did.
Yeah.
But I remember talking to them, and they were like, hey, if you'll help us do this, we'll do this towards your semester or whatever it may be. But I say this, I never got to necessarily go do all the traveling all the time with even the young adult choir at the time, all that stuff, just different jobs. But, and this isn't anything on my side of things, but I do believe a lot of where I am today and what opportunities God's given me is just from staying faithful in the little things.
Yeah.
And I remember as soon as I graduated, going right into ministry and things like that. And I look at, of course, we've alluded to him a little bit earlier, but Casey in here, Casey, good job cleaning carpets, things like that, doing something. And I remember you talking about him like, hey, there may be an opening at the church, and him going off to sitting with Brother Mark at dinner, and he's like calling you like, you'll never believe what Brother Mark just asked me. He's like, he talked to me about working at the church, but I've watched a kid over here that gave up a little something to just and just saying, and I've heard him say it. He's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I just know I want to be in ministry.
Yeah.
And stepping into that and being faithful. And there's no telling what God will do in his life. And I've seen God do that in my life, and obviously you've seen God do that in your life. Of just be faithful where God has you. It may not make sense. I'm sure $100 a week didn't make sense then.
It did not.
But
no.
God will do more with that
Yeah.
than any great salary we think we got to have.
And I didn't miss anything. I didn't miss a meal. I didn't miss bills. Even making as little as what we did, it was amazing to see how God provided along the way. But you talk about the guys that are just sitting around and waiting and wanting to know, where's my phone call? When I was vacuuming floors, cleaning toilets, taking out trash, we did practice preaching. I knew what I sounded like.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to hear me preach. I don't that never hit me that I felt like I needed to be. I wanted to be. I wanted to go preach. I wanted to have those opportunities, and dreamed of it. But while I was walking through the auditorium, and this was before they built the new auditorium that's down at North Augusta.
Yeah.
This is the old auditorium. I'm walking through there, and man, I'm just bawling that God would let me be a part of something like that.
Wow.
Just thankful. And the gratitude and the thankfulness that God would allow me to be a part of some kind of ministry like that. I think that sometimes we overlook the little places of life that God will bring you. But those are memories I'll cherish with me forever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it comes down to thinking I deserve more instead of thinking God deserves more. And, really saying, I'm not comfortable, and, this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be. It's a little more difficult than what I thought. Because, again, Bible college wasn't easy. There was, it was a running joke in ours for a little bit, because it was within the first 2 weeks of being here, your car was going to break down. And I had a perfectly good running car that broke down 2 weeks after getting here. And I wish more guys experienced what it's like to finish well. And I wish more people would see the reality of, don't give up short-term pleasure for long-term gain, and saying, the best that God has for me is nowhere even close to what I could have provided for myself.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
I think of a lot of that within, what you've done here at the college, and, what you did back then in Victory. And, it's putting yourself in a place of saying, I'm here for the roller coaster. My dad told me a long time ago, he used it an illustration of something else, but I turn it into the will of God. But the will of God is like a roller coaster. The people that get hurt are the ones that jump off. And you're gonna have ups and downs. You're gonna have one ways and back, but just hanging on and saying, this is what I know God wants for me to do. So kind of going through with your college life, your crazy college days and Victory. What is something that you can look back and say, I'm thankful that is there one reason back then that you can think back and say, I'm thankful that I stuck here and finished, as far as what that turned in after graduating from Victory?
One thing I can say all that again. Remind me what you're talking about.
You kind of even talking about being thankful for just even vacuuming the auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that you can think back and say, I was grateful for it, and I finished here, and it allowed God to open doors in my life for after I got out. Because a lot of times in college especially, we assume that, I assumed, my phone's going to be ringing off the hook. I've got a diploma now, and people think I'm somebody. And, it has, and it wasn't what God wanted for my life.
Mm-hmm.
And continuously staying where I'm supposed to be. But is there something that you could say, I finished college, and I know that this is what the Lord wanted me to do next after college?
Well, it was more or less not any particular experience, but the people who God put me in ministry with. Like when I had finished Bible college at the time, not to go back through it again, but after working on maintenance, that's when I started working part time and a little bit of time with Dr. Hurt and kind of helping him in the office. And his role started increasing, and so he needed some help. And he would grab me, at the end of the day and say, "Hey, I need some help with the college and doing things like this." And so I was all on board for anything I needed to do. Whatever they wanted me to do, I'd do it. And so he would have me do different things to go get the college ready and set up and all that kind of stuff, because we'd meet in college down there Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, so 3 days a week. And we would go, if you remember, we would go from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Our college would go 2 nights a week, and they're only going for 3 hours.
Yeah.
We went for 4 hours
Yeah.
and 3 nights a week, so it was a little bit longer. But he needed somebody to go up there and set everything up, so I made sure all the chairs were straight, sound was on. I would unlock the doors, and so I started helping him with various things. He would need help going and visiting different people, and so I'm talking about Steve Hurt. And so while I was finishing up my Bible college, I started helping him, and I didn't realize it at the time, but God was putting him over me so I could learn from him. And I got to travel with him to a few meetings. Got to go with Preacher Brown to a few meetings, and got the feel of the evangelistic side of it. And I didn't realize that God was preparing me in my mind to watch them and how they do for what I would be doing today. But it wasn't so much a moment that God was teaching me and all that. It was the people of ministry that God was training me under, that I needed to learn from them firsthand. The hands-on experience that I got from them was what taught me to be who I am today and how I operate my life. When I counsel somebody, I use a lot of what I learned by watching them. The way we do our Bible college is a lot of what the mindset that Larry Brown had, Steve Hurt had to train young preachers. It's a very practical approach. Some people say it's easy what we teach, but it's not that it's easy. It's just that it's stuff you can walk out the door and put it to practice in ministry. Yeah. God will teach you a lot of things. There's a lot of books out there that will teach you a lot of things about theology and about ministry and all that stuff. And there's plenty of books out there where you can learn that stuff. But we only have a small window to teach these guys something. We only have them 3 hours for 2 nights a week. And so we've got to teach them the foundation and the basics of stuff. And we want to teach them something that they can walk out the door and put it to practice in ministry. And so that's what I've learned through the Bible college experience.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like, I remember, of course, the days I was there as well. I remember, of course, you were preaching out, things like that. I remember times going and traveling. I was singing with you guys before Gracie started singing with you and all that stuff. Yep. But I remember seeing seemingly more opportunity just at the church alone for you, because I remember, of course, Dr. Hurt stepped out. You were running the Bible college then.
Yeah.
You were doing music. Of course, you were helping with singles and things like that. Did you ever face a moment where you felt like, you know what, I don't necessarily have to do evangelism. I could just stay here and be comfortable doing this, and kind of like that back and forth of, but you know, almost what you're talking about earlier, you could settle, and I know it sounds crazy because we're not looking at a polar opposite situation of just doing bad stuff and good stuff. You're looking at, you're still serving both ways, but it's the difference in good and great.
Yes.
Of I could stay here and just be the choir director, be the singles, run the college, not have to travel every week, go to my home every day, or do I step out on this? Do you ever did you find yourself in that situation?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I cannot tell you how happy I was to do what I was doing. How satisfied I was. Complacent is a word that we use a lot. I had no intention of ever leaving or doing anything different than what I was doing. I was thrilled to be the choir director of that choir down there. I was honored, humbled by it. Probably not qualified for it. Steve Hurt, Carol Hurt had built that choir and that music program to where it was just phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And I just walked in to a role that was already built and just tried to carry on the legacy of what they had built there. Mm-hmm. And loved it, loved what I was doing. The Bible college was another thing. I joke about it a lot, but when Steve Hurt stepped out and you know, after the death of Carol, Katie's mom, there was some years there where Steve felt like the Lord was leading him in different directions. And so when he finally left there, he told me about it, and then preacher come walking in the office, and he said, well, Steve is moving on to a different ministry. I guess you know that. And I said, yes, sir, I do know that. He said, all of his positions he's had, I'm giving them to you. He recommended you.
Oh, wow.
He said, don't mess them up. If you do, you're going to have to go get another job somewhere else.
There was ever a Doc Brown statement.
Oh, yeah.
Right there.
I can't tell you how I broke out in sweat. I'm breaking out in sweats now thinking about it. Just as nervous as I could be because I just did not feel qualified for any of that. But the Lord just set it up to where I could do those things. But to answer your question, I was happy. I loved what I was doing. But then God, 3 years into it of leading the choir, running the Bible college, 3 or 4 years into it, running the singles ministry, being an assistant to the pastor. I was not the associate, but I was an assistant to the pastor. Whatever he needed me to do, I'd do. I'd go to meetings with him, just different things we would do. Just happy, just running wide open, wearing myself out, doing what he called me to do, and thankful every day. In the middle of it, God started opening doors for me to go to different places. And that was when I finally, about 4 years into it, of doing all those positions, I sat down with Preacher Brown and told him, said, the Lord's opening doors for me to go preach. I don't know what he wants for my life, but I want to walk through whatever door he wants me to walk through. I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now. If this is what I do for the rest of my life, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And he said, well, do this. Just go preach wherever they let you. He said, because he said, I see you being a pastor. You're either going to go pastor a church or you're going to go start a church somewhere. He says, so about 6 months, just go preach, be on the road, see what's out there that's working and what's not working.
Yeah.
Just go do that for 6 months. And he said, and we'll help you in any way we can. He said, and then if after 6 months, if you're just tired of being on the road, you want to come back, come back. He said, but if you want to go pastor a church, go pastor a church. If you want to start a church, I'll help you. Whatever you need, we'll help you. And so I did that for 6 months. I started in 2012, started preaching in different meetings. And God started opening up doors for me to go preach. 6 months turned into now 14 years. And I did not know. I agree with him. I thought I would pastor. I did not think evangelism was for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm with you. I loved my home.
Yeah.
I love being home. And I loved working at a church. I love the camaraderie of it. And still this day, there's a lot of it I miss.
Yeah.
But for 14 years, this is what God's had me doing. And every phone call that comes, that God opens a door, I'm answering it.
Yeah.
And I'm going wherever he leads me. And I've not put him in a box where I have to do this, I have to do that, I've got to go here, got to go there. Just whatever door he opens, I want to walk through it. And so it's worked for 14 years. So as long as he keeps opening the door, I'll keep walking through it.
Yeah. Well, it's so cool to when you kind of see those perspectives and realize, like, I mean, you got a guy sitting right there on the couch that is a product of 14 years of traveling, of just him hearing about this place and things like that. And I mean, it's one of those things, you said it right at the end of that statement there, of just be open to what God has for you. Yeah. I remember telling Heather years ago, we were sitting after dinner one night talking, and, you know, I hadn't proposed to her yet. We knew we were kind of wanting to marry each other, all that stuff. Of course, I was broke. I couldn't buy a ring yet. And that's the other side of Bible college. But, you know, I had to eat enough ramen so I could save up for a ring.
There you go.
But I remember her sitting and talking to me, and she's like, I know that I want to marry you. She's like, but I haven't, you know, had this moment of God called me to be a preacher's wife. Because we'd heard that, you know, time and time. Oh, yeah. And if they did, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I remember looking at her that night. I said, as long as you stay willing, and as long as you keep a willingness in your heart to do whatever God has for you, there's no telling what God will do in your life. And hearing you talk is just a willingness of saying, God, you know, I'll go where you want me to go. I'll do what you want me to do. I'm not above anything or below anything. You just point me in the direction and I'll go with it. But looking at that, you can see the product of that through all those years. I remember, you talking about pastor, I remember when a church not far from my hometown in North Carolina called you about pastoring, and I imagine then was like, man, I could settle in, and
it was we really seriously considered.
And that was I remember that ministry was a great ministry there. Yeah. But again, it's that, do I go for good or do I go for great?
That's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key. And God does have a path, and just because it's something that looks like God, it's not always His will.
Yeah.
That statement will stick with me. I'll keep that with me. It's not just going for good, it's going for great.
Absolutely.
So finishing up with your college career, starting working at the church, finishing up there, going into evangelism, and you said 14 years now. So 2012 to now, and there was something that was kind of funny. Dr. Hurt, which is now our pastor, so kind of full circle with that, and
another day, another episode.
Yeah.
How we've all come back around. I mean, it's crazy.
And something he had said is a great way to know if the Lord's calling you to evangelism is how many Sundays are you going to be here this week? So I know the Lord has put you you are doing exactly what the Lord wants you to do by staying busy in that sense. Yeah. But kind of, you know, coming somewhat to an end here of putting everything into place. This was an episode that I was looking forward to because we talk about, of course, from where you started to this point in this seat, but at the same time, you know, had you not done what God wanted you to do, I couldn't have done what God wanted me to do. And really sitting back, you know, this past few days and thinking about it, you know, I would have been comfortable living at home, but, you know, I would have never met my wife.
Yeah.
I'd never have the job I have now. And looking back on God's faithfulness, even when I'm not faithful, and me being faithful at times, Him still being way more faithful than I am. And, you know, this has been an exciting episode for me because, again, God has never made a mistake, and He won't start with you. And there's going to be listeners that listen to this of saying, you know, man, I have messed up, but it's not my book isn't closed yet.
Exactly.
This is just part of my life now. Something that you've said several times in this, that I pray echoes into our teens' ears, echoes into the young adults' ears, echoes into older adult ears. There's never a wrong time to follow Christ.
Yeah.
You know, if you have messed up and you have left Bible college, or you have stuck around those wrong friends, there's never a time, no matter how much the devil tells you, there's never a time you can say, this isn't what I want to do. And we kind of talked about it a little bit ago. The prodigal never had a fun time walking back to the Father's house, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I'm sure at the end of that journey, he was a lot more thankful that he did, than staying where he was at. And I think about the times where you could have, in your life, stayed in North Augusta or stayed in Cowpens, but continuously following what Christ, continuously going through the doors Christ has opened, has not only affected my life, but you have affected my kids' lives that I don't even have yet. You've affected my grandkids' lives, all because of little decisions that you've made. Pulling up, the story of Ruth, of how one decision affects people. And there's things that I've had in my life that I feel like has affected me negatively, was still a part of God's plan.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been an encouragement to have you on. It's an encouragement to call you a hero. It's been an encouragement to me to call you a friend. And I don't know of anybody we could have had better on the podcast to start off our guest list.
That's right.
Than the man who followed. You could always be in my life the man who followed God to allow me to follow God.
Amen.
And
I'm humbled by that. I don't know what to say about that.
Because I'm not in the same boat, but me and Bobby are in the same boat.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be talking to each other.
Yeah.
Had someone not followed what God wanted us to do.
I agree with. I think we all have people, and ministry probably magnifies that more than anything. You have so many people that invest in you along the way, because you cannot get where you are by yourself in ministry. I didn't get where I'm at by myself. I didn't just wake up one day and say I want to do this and it happened. God put me with certain people because He knew I couldn't get there by myself. And it's the same with your life and with Bobby's life and Casey's life. All these, everybody that's watching, we all have somebody that God has put in our life that's helped us to get to where we are. And so He gets the glory for it. It's all Him who's orchestrating it. And so I'm just a product of the goodness of God.
Amen.
And I'm just trying to do my best. And I don't do this nearly as good as I want to. But I'm trying my best to pay it forward in your life and in your life and in other people's lives, to let them know that, hey, God's got a plan for you. You mentioned your wife, and we haven't talked anything. That's a different podcast as well. That Bible college was a place where God introduced me to my wife, just like you. And so
Casey, maybe.
Fingers crossed. Casey's got his fingers crossed. We're praying, Casey. God has a way of orchestrating things, and it's so amazing that He sees the end from the beginning.
Yeah.
He already has all that worked out if we'll just walk in the way.
Yeah.
He'll lead us to these right people. It's so amazing to see how He does it, but it's got to be full surrender to Him.
Yeah.
To trust Him with your life. He's the author and finisher. The pen has a whole lot. That story is going to be written a whole lot better with the pen in His hand than it is in ours.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm humbled you said all that. I don't even know how to respond to all that, but it's all I can say is it's all Him.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely both of us could very much express gratitude of your faithfulness through the years, because it's amazing how the three of us can sit in this room and two timelines, in essence, but seeing God's faithfulness through it. I mean, I was at a time of around you at Victory. I mean, where I met you, where I met Dr. Hurt, where I met Doc Brown, all those people now working for Dr. Hurt now, working alongside of you in our Bible college. And that's crazy to me, graduating a Bible college that you ran, now helping you with this one, getting out to places we never thought it would go.
Oh, yeah.
And things like that, being back around SAS and just all the people that we made friendships with then, and again, on my side, can look back and I can see my wife and my kids. I remember sitting at Chili's for your birthday and sitting across from Heather and getting to talk with her.
Oh, yeah.
And just, rest is history and all this. And it is
So was that where God started it?
That is.
At Chili's at my birthday.
For your birthday. That's right. We were sitting across the table from each other.
Feel God in this Chili's.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. We got to go visit back at Chili's again. So, but I can say this, I can see your faithfulness in that time, your faithfulness in what you're doing now, and it is those things that I believe is what helps you get up one more day and do that. Just seeing what God has done, not just in our two lives, but the countless lives of what God is doing. I mean, again, arguably, my boys knowing the Lord because of connections made long before ever being at this place. All through just being faithful in those moments. And so that's what I love about today is just kind of a time. I think every once in a while we need to go back and just reflect on things and thank God for where He brought us from.
And
I'm reminded of when they were crossing into that promised land and God told them to grab those stones up out of the river and make that altar, make that place. Yeah. So when the generations look and say, what's that about? Well, let me tell you what God did then.
What meaneth these stones?
Exactly.
The children are going to ask.
And I think today is just that, being able to look back and say, you know what, Lord, I may have forgot about a lot of what you did, but thank you for the reminder, of where you brought us from and how you brought us to these places and why we're sitting here today, and that it is nothing short of the goodness of God.
Yes, sir.
As to why we're doing what we are today.
It's all Him.
But I want to say this: if you could, we always love kind of challenging. We always love kind of leaving everybody watching and listening with something. But if looking back at the decisions that had to be made, the crossroads that you went through, all those things, and as you look at where you are now, what's something I would say could you leave them just as and if they're at a crossroad, if they are wondering what the next step is, if they're saying, God, what is it that you have for my life? What's something that I think you could leave them with just to challenge them with today?
I would encourage them. You talked about the prodigal son. The prodigal son at any moment walking to the far country could have turned back around and went to the father's house. The further he went from the presence of his father, the worse his life got.
Yeah.
He wound up going all the way to where he lost everything. But we know that had that boy stayed where he was at, he would have died there.
Yeah.
No restoration, no help. And the father would have lost a son that he did not get back.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage anybody, it doesn't matter at what point of the journey you're on. If you're not walking in God's direction, turn around and go back. It's only going to get worse the further you go away from Him. And I had to learn that. But when you do go back to the Father, it's like you said, you cannot, there's no wrong time to go back to the Father's house. And so at any moment of your life, go back to who God is. Go back to His presence. Go back to the Father's house. Get it right with Him. If it's wrong in your life right now, get it right with Him. If you've done what you shouldn't have done, turn around, go back, get it right. Get it right with the people around you. And trust Him that He has a better story than you do.
Amen.
And so I challenge anybody that's watching, God's got something out there for all of us, that He's so much better at life than we are if we'll just surrender it to Him. Just give Him, do it. You might need to just go physically pick up the pen and tell Him in prayer, Lord, you write my story.
Amen.
I want you to write it.
I want to piggyback off that because when you succeed, you don't succeed alone. And when you fail, you don't fail alone. And there might be somebody later on in your life that needs to be at a spot but can only get there if you do what God wants you to do.
Wow.
And my burden for my life, I know Bobby's burden for his life, is showing these teenagers that the Father's house is the best place they can stay.
Yes, sir.
But always know that you're welcome back at the Father's house.
Yeah.
Because when you fail, you're not going to fail alone. Other people are going to fail with you. And I want to encourage you. Talk about that for you. I talk about that from my perspective of keep going for someone else, because you following Christ allows me to follow Christ. And I can say without a doubt that I'm appreciative of you and your ministry and what you've done. I'm appreciative that you allowed the Lord to work in your life. And I'm thankful for that.
I appreciate that, brother.
Amen.
I love you and I appreciate you. I'm thankful that you serve the Lord. Thankful that you surrendered your life to Him. And you and Ashlyn together, God's got big plans for both of you.
Amen.
And we prophesy children in the future coming that God's going to use your family in a great way. Yeah. And I'm thankful for what y'all do for our young people. My kids are influenced by that. And that's what you're talking about. You don't realize who down the road is going to be helped because of the decisions you make. Yeah. Well, all of this is full circle.
Yeah.
No matter how you look at it, it's all full circle.
Yeah.
Because y'all are helping my kids, and that helps me. And so I'm grateful for it, thankful for it, and again, it's all Him.
Yeah.
He's the reason. He gets the glory for it. It's our story, His glory.
Yeah.
We're just in it watching. We're hanging on for the roller coaster ride.
That's right.
Just make sure we don't jump off. Apparently.
Don't jump off.
Don't jump off.
Yeah, that could hurt.
That's right. Well, Brent, we appreciate you being with us today.
I appreciate
man.
y'all.
And
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
How can we listen to some of y'all's music? I know you've got a couple that you're out there.
Yeah, we're all on iTunes, Apple Music, any of that stuff. Any digital platform, Spotify is on there. We're all over there. I don't do a whole lot of that, so I don't know, exactly where it's all. But you can just
is it
research
on Spotify? It is
yeah,
on
we're
Spotify.
on. Yeah, they tell us.
Casey's like the
Spotify
Spotify master over here. He knows
He's
everything.
Spotify. I do Apple, so I know. I know you're on Apple.
Casey, do you listen to us on Spotify? See, awesome, man.
And y'all just dropped the new album too.
The new album just came out 2 months ago.
That's right.
Yep.
So I've listened to. I know Sass has been playing it in college, things like
Has
that.
he?
We've been hearing it.
Good.
Yeah. And I know just some good songs. I think the other night was some of the new songs that y'all had were on that
when
album.
he got us up to sing
the concert.
Yeah. we didn't even know we were singing Sunday night, and he was like, "Sing one."
I saw the face.
And then he was like, "Sing another."
Yeah.
Sing another.
I can always tell.
Here's a funny thing. Don't forget that. I want to hear what you're about to say. Like 2 weeks ago, we're at a church, and a guy has our iPad while we're singing in the middle of the service, and he's like hitting buttons for me, and he hits the wrong button, and I lose all my songs.
No.
All of them are gone. Like songs we've had for 10 plus years, I can't get them back.
No
Yeah.
way.
They're gone. And so what was ironic about the other day, I've been steadily trying to add these songs. I've been trying to get a new app to add because I can't get the old app back for whatever reason. And the iPad is like no memory left on it or all that kind of stuff. And so the other night when he's asking for us to sing songs, the only thing I have on that list that we were singing from was all of our new stuff.
The new stuff.
And I'm like, man, some of this we're probably not ready for.
Yeah.
And so I kept hitting those buttons, and the girls are looking at me wide-eyed like, are we really doing this one?
Hey,
Yes,
look,
we are.
nobody knew, man.
Yeah.
Nobody knew.
Because I didn't have any of our old stuff to pull from. Because it's all gone.
Yeah.
I've got to go back and find it.
Oh,
That
my
is
goodness.
crazy. Anyway, what would you go say?
The way you stand up is normally the way I know if you've been asked to preach or been asked to sing,
Yeah.
or if you were kind of preparing for that.
It's a slow walk.
It's kind of it's usually kind of a get up, and we're kind of look at Katie, and all right, we're going to get the
Ginger.
it is.
I look at her because in the moment my mind doesn't work right.
Yeah.
And so she'll throw some stuff at me that gets my mind stirred, like
Yeah.
the songs. Because he'll ask me do another song, and I can't think of any songs at all.
Oh, yeah.
It's old age. I'm getting old. My mind just cannot process information. So I'll look at her like, "What you think?" And she'll throw a song that I wasn't even thinking of. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's a great song.
Oh, yeah. No, Heather and I just finished singing, and I remember him pointing to you, and you were like that face of like, okay, we'll get up here.
Yeah, he leaned up while y'all were singing.
Yeah.
He was like, "We need some more music." He's like, "Sing another one, or get one ready." And I'm like, "All right, we don't have any songs, so let me go find some of these."
Don't ask us to sing more than 9 times, because that's all I have on here.
All of our do it. So that's what we did the other night. We just started hitting the new songs.
Hey, look, y'all sold it. Nobody ever knew.
I hope it wasn't a disaster.
No.
Nobody knows till now.
That's right. They all know the secret. It's out. So, but no, we do appreciate you being with us today, Brother Brent. And
Appreciate
just getting to hear your heart. Like I said, a lot of people maybe not know all your testimony. And it's one of those things. If Brother Mark says this a lot, if they can see us with our hair down, of course, what we have. But if they can see us with our hair down,
See now, Brother Mark, he's making fun of me and you
I know.
because we have no hair.
Absolutely. But I think it's good for them to hear and see, when the suit's not on, and it's just kind of getting to talk and share what God's done in your life. And so we are looking forward to these moments of having other guests with us, but hearing y'all's testimonies and what God's doing in your life. And we do appreciate y'all and praying for y'all all the time. Every time y'all hit the road, from vehicles running right to sound running right, to ultimately God using y'all for His glory.
Yes,
and
sir.
Man, I love seeing the reports of another one getting saved and God doing something in y'all's meetings. And so we are praying for you. Our teens love y'all. And I love that at our church. Our teens, they truly love our evangelist here. They love what God's doing in y'all's life.
We love them.
And
Best group in America.
well, we love them. And we appreciate you. And thank you for hanging out with us today and sharing your life. And we do hope something said today.
Yeah.
If nothing else, we've said it a lot of times, don't settle for good, go for great and what God has for you. And you never know what one decision could do in your life and what it could open up for you and what God has in store for you. So, guys, we love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Go grab you some good music from the Carr family over here, and y'all be praying for them. And we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you for watching.
Appreciate y'all.